We're talking about his blindness. Again, Byron is a friend of mine, and ever since I've known Byron, about 25, 30 years now, he's been blind, but he's always been an extremely upbeat, positive individual. I've never seen Byron, just the way he has dealt with his blindness and with his situation, to me is amazing. And that's the reason why I wanted to interview him. I wanted to bring this content to my YouTube audience or to my Facebook audience. But I also wanted to interview Byron for my own personal reasons. Like I said, we've been friends for a long time, and I've always had questions for Byron, and we just never sat down and talked about these things. So he'll be right back in the meeting in just a few minutes. But I hope you're getting some value from this recording. If you are dealing with any type of adversity, if you got your own personal circumstances and situations that it's like I gotta overcome my own stuff, and I got so much stuff going on, it's gonna help us out with how to overcome things in your life and still smile and be happy at the end of the day. Okay, so Byron, glad we got you back on, man. Let me restate the question real quick. Let's go back to 7, man. You started beating on boxes at 4, and then one day you woke up at 7 and you just lost your vision. Is that kind of how that happened?
Yeah. Well, I had the measles and chickenpox at the same time.
Okay.
And before I just said the measles, but I had both of them at the same time. Penicillin was administered, and I lost the sight 12 hours later due to Steven Johnson's, which is a breakdown of the mucous membranes. Okay. And so that resulted in the detach of the retina in the right eye because the ventris leaked out of the chamber, flattened actually. And so the left eye, they sewed shut to keep the ventris in, which is the fluid that's in the inner eye, well, in the chamber between the inner eye and outer eye. And so I was, I had to wear like goggles and, stuff like that to school. So it was pretty brutal. But what I did was I kept the moisture in the eye, so, preserving the left eye, because they were hoping that I would be able to see one day again. And so I'm in the process, in the midst of from 7 to 16, I moved to Virginia and received a cornea transplant when I got to Virginia after a couple of years of being there. And that restored the vision in the left eye, enough to be able to drive, as you could remember.
I do.
or something of the sort, right? Yeah.
Got you. So now you said that process happened. So you had your sight, and then 12 hours later you didn't. That's how long that process took.
Yeah.
How were you now when you first of all, how did you deal with that? Like immediately after. And then second of all, when you had to go to school with these goggles on, I mean, I know in high school, man, me and you used to crack jokes on each other pretty hard. I mean, we used to go at each other, you know what I mean? And nothing was off limits, you know what I mean? So, but how did you deal with that at 7 when you went, how did you deal with it personally, and how were you received at school? Were you bullied? Did they make fun of you? And did you feel, like I'm on my own? And, how did you deal with that?
A couple things. I mean, first of all, 7 years old, you're fearless. You don't know what's going on. The second thing is, when this happened, this slipped me into a coma. I was in a coma for like 40 days. So
wow.
Clinically, I was dead. Temperature was like 107, 108, something like that. And it was at a point to where, it's at a point to where I didn't really realize the severity of it, being a child. You just don't know. And so when I did go to school, I would run into issues like, because I went to public school, and you're talking about in the early '80s, and so people would take my goggles and pull them off my eyes to look at them. They would just walk up to me and pull them off my eyes, and then let them snap back on my face, things like that, and they would walk off laughing. And so it was a pretty cruel thing, but I look back at it and I'm like, whoa, this, I wasn't even really affected by that. Like I wasn't allowing, and I don't know why I wasn't affected, because some people would be affected by it.
You're absolutely right.
But here's the thing, so I was in public school for maybe a year to 2 years after losing the vision. And then I went to Illinois State School for the Visually Impaired. And that was an experience. I was just talking to a friend of mine about it. That was an experience that was, I'm telling you, it was game changing in a lot of ways.
How?
The level of independence that they allowed you to operate at. It was no coddle mentality, no coddling allowed. The cottage, because this was a place like a boarding school. It had dormitories. You stayed there 9 months out the year. I mean, you obviously came home for breaks, Thanksgiving, Christmas, those types of things. But you stayed there. They taught you how to do laundry. They taught you how to cook. They taught you how to live on your own. They taught you how to travel. I remember I had a mobility instructor that taught me how to pitch, taught me how to throw a baseball. And I remember on my mobility lessons, I would do so good. He would say, well, if you do good, because I was really into baseball. And he was like, I'll teach you how to, pitch. And this guy was a pitcher in college, so he would take me upstairs in the middle of the day at the auditorium where nobody would be at. And he would stand at one end of the hallway. He would bring 2 gloves and a baseball, and he would teach me how to hold it and throw it straight. He'd put a stick down on the ground so it acted as a mound. That kind of, interaction, that kind of inclusive attitude is what really, even though that school was, geared, not just geared, but it was specifically and definitively there to facilitate an education for those with unique ability.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, they integrated in their programming. Wow.
Voiceover off.
It integrated in the programming, like bicycle riding. They allowed us to ride bikes. We played beat ball in the yard. We had to run to the bases, but we played it like regular baseball. Because in beat ball you only have 2 bases, but we had 3 bases plus the home plate, and they would let us play this. And there was a pole in a tree in the middle of that field, and we would always run into that stuff. But they were like, learn how to navigate that. That kind of, just what. As I think back on it, I am 1,000% thankful my mom sent me to that place.
Yeah, I can imagine. It sounds to me like regular school, like based on your experience there, maybe regular school was an environment where it was like, oh, he's blind, so he can't do this, he can't do that. No, don't do this. Be careful. No, you're gonna hurt yourself. Da, 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 da. Which nobody wants you to get hurt, but on the same note, you gotta learn.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that school that you went to, they did just the opposite. It's like, look, dude, you ain't special. We know you ain't got sight, but you still got to get through this world. So let's go ahead and do all of this stuff. Let's learn how to play baseball. Let's learn how to navigate through the trees. Let's learn how to ride a bike. Let's learn how to throw a ball. Let's learn how to do all of this stuff, because it just sounds like it's a matter of like, it's like, yo, get out there and live. You know what I mean? You can't be controlled by your situation. You still got to find a way to live.
Well, a lot of who I am, I attribute that to my mother and that school.
Yeah. Did your mother have to give you a lot of encouraging words from her needed during this period? You was in a coma for 40 days, so it took you about 12 hours, you say, to actually lose your sight, and you were in a coma for 40 days. So, during this initial adapting to this new environment that you're in, did it require a lot of listen, baby, listen, you know what I mean? A lot of that from your mother? Did it require a lot of that?
Mm-mm. Now, like I said, when you're a kid, you're fearless. My mom also was just that. Like I said, what that school was, my mom was that. She was quintessential when it came to, this boy, he got to get out and be a boy. She didn't have a problem with me riding a bicycle, tearing my knuckles up on wrought iron fences at the neighbor's house.
Yeah.
Running into parked cars. Obviously, it's her child, her only child.
Voiceover on accept button. Chicago, right, decline, NS menu item, decline options, menu button, menu. Remind me in 5 minutes, remind me in 15 minutes, and decline button. Press decline.
So,
Zoom.us, voiceover off.
Yeah.
Now, what I hear speaking right there, you have on your computer technology that speaks to you and lets you know where everything is on your computer.
Yeah. I use a screen reader. I use the Apple stuff, so it comes equipped out the box. All the Apple technology is accessible.
Gotcha.
Mainly what I use. I got a ton of Apple computers, so.
Gotcha. I want to move on with this too, man, and keep it moving. But you said something a minute ago that was interesting, man. You said, children are fearless and they don't know a lot of the times.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I think me riding a bicycle, at 7 years, 8, 9, 10 years old, blind, with my cousin on the back, maybe she was crazier than I was, because she could see, and she was riding on the back of my bike.
Was she your eyes, or was she blind too?
Yeah, she was telling me, she would tell me where to go, but the lion's share of the time I'm riding by myself. So she just wasn't there. This would be over my grandmother's house.
I got you.
And people would park their driveways. It was a neighborhood. And people would park their cars in the driveway. Tail end of the car be sticking out in the sidewalk, and I'm coming barreling down the sidewalk, and on my bicycle, and you know what happens from there. Next thing I'm sprawled all out in the middle of the sidewalk, or in the grass, or in the street, or whatever it could be.
Yeah.
But those are the things that, like I said, once again, those experiences helped me later on. Like to be able to go in an airport and be by myself and feel okay with going to the wrong gate, asking for help, being able to be in public, go down the street when it's time to cross the street, know how to do that, know how to pay attention to your environment. Those types of skills are important, especially as a blind person. I mean, travel skills, any kind of travel skills, as any individual in the world, but a person with a unique ability, as crucial as losing their vision, or as blindness, I should say. A lot of things, a lot of your training, that your previous training, your former training is going to really, really shape and mold you.
Absolutely.